I should have known better. The dark web isn't a playground, but curiosity has a way of making you forget common sense. It started with a harmless conversation in a Discord server about deep web horror stories. Most people in the chat were skeptical, dismissing them as urban legends. But one user, someone going by the name Ether, swore he had found something real, something worse than any horror story. I was intrigued. When I pressed for details, he only sent me a single link, along with a warning. Don't go in alone. I hesitated. I had used the dark web before, but only for harmless exploration. Nothing criminal, nothing too deep, just the usual hidden forums and bizarre marketplaces. But this was different. The link was a direct onion URL, meaning I'd need to use Tor to access it. My gut told me to ignore it, but my curiosity won. I opened Tor, copied the link, and pressed enter. The website loaded slowly, its black background and red text making it look like something from the early 2000s. There was only one thing on the page, a single word in all caps. Enter. I clicked. The screen went black. Then a video feed appeared, a dimly lit room, the grainy quality making it difficult to make out details. At first, I thought the feed was frozen, but then I saw it. A man sitting on a chair, his head slumped forward, his arms hanging loosely at his sides. He wasn't moving. I turned up the volume. Nothing. No sound at all. I watched for a full minute, waiting for something to happen. Maybe this was some kind of prank, a looping video meant to scare people. But then, ever so slightly, the man's head twitched. A shiver ran down my spine. I should have closed the browser, but I didn't. I kept watching. Minutes passed. The silence felt suffocating. Then I noticed something. There was a door behind the man. It was slightly open. Just a sliver of darkness beyond it. My stomach turned when I realized the door was moving, opening inch by inch. Someone else was there. My heart pounded. I leaned closer to the screen, trying to make out any movement in the darkness, but the grainy quality made it impossible. Then the man in the chair moved again. His hands twitched, his head lifted slightly. I could just barely see his face, but his mouth was open, like he was screaming, but no sound was coming out. The door creaked open a little more. I was holding my breath now. The anticipation was unbearable. I typed in the chat box below the video feed. Who is that behind him? No response. I waited. Then a new message appeared. Don't look away. A chill spread through my body. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, but I didn't know what to say. Then the man in the chair started to convulse, his body shaking violently. His mouth was still open, still silent. His head snapped backward at an unnatural angle. I covered my mouth, my skin cold with sweat. Then the camera feed flickered. For a fraction of a second, I saw something. Someone standing behind the man. A shadowy figure, impossibly tall, its face obscured. The screen glitched again, and the figure was gone. But the man in the chair wasn't shaking anymore. He was staring directly at me. My stomach dropped. It felt impossible. I knew this was just a video feed. I knew he couldn't see me. But my instincts screamed otherwise. Then the chat box blinked again. He sees you. I slammed my laptop shut. My heart was hammering so hard I thought I might pass out. My room was silent except for my own ragged breathing. I tried to tell myself it was just a sick joke, just someone messing with me. But I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't alone. I glanced at the corner of my room. The door to my closet was open. Just a sliver. I didn't remember leaving it open. My breath caught in my throat. I sat completely still, listening. No sound, no movement, just silence. But something felt wrong. Slowly, I reached for the lamp on my desk and switched it on. Light flooded the room. Nothing was there, just clothes hanging limply in my closet. Just shadows cast by the dim glow of my monitor. I exhaled, laughing nervously at myself. It's just paranoia, I thought. A trick of the mind. Then, from my laptop, a sound. A soft, distorted whisper. I froze. My laptop was still closed, but the sound was coming from inside it. I reached for it slowly, my hands trembling. I flipped it open. The video feed was still there. The chair was empty. The man was gone. My vision blurred with panic. I slammed my laptop shut again, yanked the power cord out, and shoved it away from me. I was done. I didn't care if it was a hoax. I wasn't touching the dark web again. I spent the next few hours with all my lights on, too scared to sleep. Eventually, exhaustion took over, and I drifted into a restless sleep. But just before I lost consciousness, I thought I heard something. A whisper, right next to my ear. A single word in a voice I didn't recognize. Run. I woke up in a cold sweat, the room silent again. I barely slept after that. The next morning, I wiped my laptop, reset my router, and deleted everything related to the dark web from my system. I even threw out my webcam just in case. For days, nothing happened. I started to believe it was all in my head, just a sick prank that got under my skin. But last night, something changed. I woke up around 3 a.m. to a notification on my phone. An unknown number, a single message. Don't look away. And outside my window, a figure standing completely still, watching me. I don't know what to do. I don't know if it's all in my head or if something followed me from that cursed site. But I do know one thing. I should have never clicked that link. I've always been reckless when it comes to online privacy. Maybe it was arrogance or just plain ignorance, but I never really believed the horror stories about the dark web. I thought they were just exaggerated urban legends, until last month. It started with a simple curiosity. I had been watching videos about strange services offered on the deep web. Hitmen, haunted artifacts, black market organs, all the usual cliches. I wanted to see if any of it was real, just for fun. So I fired up Tor, found my way to a well-known marketplace, and browsed. Most of the listings were the usual stuff: drugs, fake passports, stolen credit card info. But one caught my eye. The last transaction. There was no image, just a short description. Once purchased, this transaction cannot be undone. A unique experience tailored just for you. No refunds. The price was strange, exactly $666 in Bitcoin. I assumed it was some kind of prank, but something about it intrigued me. Maybe I was bored. Maybe I wanted to prove it was fake. Or maybe some twisted part of me just needed to know what would happen. So, I paid. The confirmation email came instantly. No tracking number, no further instructions. Just a single sentence. Your transaction has begun. I didn't know what that meant. Was it some kind of interactive horror game? A puzzle? I refreshed my email, checked my messages. Nothing. Hours passed, and I started to feel stupid for wasting my money on what was probably a scam. Then, at exactly midnight, I got a text message from an unknown number. Look outside. My heart pounded. I was home alone, my apartment completely silent except for the faint hum of my computer. I hesitated, then pulled back my curtains. There was someone standing across the street. They were facing my window. Still, motionless. I couldn't see their face, just a dark silhouette illuminated by the street lamp. My phone buzzed again. You see me. I swallowed hard. The rational part of my brain told me it was just a prank, someone messing with me. But I couldn't shake the feeling that I had made a terrible mistake. I typed a response. Who is this? No answer. The figure didn't move. Minutes passed. My phone vibrated again. You invited me. My blood ran cold. I shut the curtains, locked my door, and grabbed the heaviest object I could find, an old, baseball bat. My hands were shaking. I didn't believe in ghosts, demons, or curses, but at that moment I wasn't so sure. I barely slept. Every noise in the apartment made my heart jump. I told myself I was just being paranoid, that it was all some elaborate joke. Then, at 3:33 a.m., my phone vibrated again. I'm inside. I nearly dropped the phone. My eyes darted around the room. The door was still locked. The windows were shut. My apartment was silent. I forced myself to type a response. "No, you're not." This time, the reply came instantly. "Check your closet." I stared at the closet door. It was closed, but was it always slightly open like that? Had I left it that way? My hands tightened around the bat. I stepped forward, every nerve in my body screaming at me to stop. My breath was shallow as I reached out, grabbed the doorknob, and yanked it open. Nothing. Just my clothes, my shoes, and old suitcase. I exhaled, laughing nervously at myself. It's just a game, I thought. A psychological trick. I slammed the closet shut and turned around. There was someone standing in the corner of my room. I didn't scream. I couldn't. My throat locked up as my vision blurred with terror. The figure was tall, unnaturally thin, its head slightly tilted. Its face was shrouded in darkness, but I could feel it staring at me. Then my phone buzzed one last time. Transaction complete. The figure took a single step forward. I ran. I don't remember much after that. I must have blacked out because the next thing I knew, it was morning, and I was waking up on my living room floor, my head pounding. My phone was gone. My laptop was fried, completely unusable. My apartment looked untouched, but something felt different, like the air was heavier, like I wasn't really alone. I tried to tell myself it was just a dream, that it wasn't real. But sometimes at night, I still hear it. The sound of slow, deliberate footsteps, and the soft buzz of a phone I no longer own. I've always been drawn to the strange corners of the internet, the obscure forums, forgotten blogs, the places where people whispered about things they weren't supposed to. But nothing prepared me for what I found last month. It started when I was researching cold cases, looking for unsolved mysteries that the internet had forgotten. I stumbled onto a link buried deep in a discussion thread. It had no context, just a single post. They always know before it happens. If you find it, leave immediately. The link led to a simple black website, the Forgotten Forum. There were only a few discussion threads, and all of them had cryptic titles. Train derailment, April 19th. Mall shooting, July 2nd. Apartment fire, September 13th. At first, I didn't understand, but as I scrolled through the posts, my stomach dropped. Each thread contained detailed descriptions of real-life tragedies, weeks before they happened. Exact locations, death tolls, witness statements, all written in the past tense, as if the events had already occurred. I clicked on one from the previous month. Highway collapse, January 11th. The post described in eerie detail a freeway bridge giving way at rush hour. 27 dead, survivors trapped under concrete. I searched the date. It had happened exactly as described. I went cold. My hands trembled as I scrolled back to the forum's homepage. At the bottom, there was a single new post. Welcome, new member. I hadn't signed up. I hadn't even interacted with anything. My breath quickened as I clicked the post. Inside was just one sentence. You have been noticed. My laptop screen flickered. Then the forum refreshed, and a new thread appeared at the top. Local man found dead February 7th. I felt dizzy. That was today's date. I clicked it. The post described my apartment, my desk, the exact position I was sitting in. The words blurred as I reached the last sentence. He should not have looked. My screen went black. A notification pinged on my phone. Unknown number. They're coming. I yanked the battery from my laptop, grabbed my keys, and ran. I don't know where I'm going, but I know one thing. I should have never clicked that link. I spent the night in a motel on the outskirts of town, too paranoid to go home. Sleep was impossible. Every sound felt like a warning, every shadow like a figure watching me. I checked my phone 100 times, but there were no more messages, no calls, no signs of anything out of the ordinary. Maybe it was just an elaborate prank, some kind of twisted ARG. Maybe my mind was playing tricks on me. At dawn, I forced myself to return to my apartment. Everything was exactly as I had left it. The door was still locked, my laptop still powered down. But as I reached for my phone to check the time, a new notification appeared. Second chance. A link followed. The same link that had led me to the Forgotten Forum. I hesitated. Then, against all reason, I clicked it. The forum was different now. The layout had changed. The old posts were gone, replaced with just one. Last warning. The thread had no text, just an image. It was a grainy black and white photo of a man sitting at a desk. My desk. I leaned closer. The man's back was turned, but I recognized the room, the window, the furniture. And then I saw it. In the corner of the photo, just behind the man, was a tall, shadowy figure, watching him, watching me. My phone buzzed again. My heart pounded as I read the final message. You are not alone. I turned, expecting, no, knowing, I would see something standing behind me. But there was nothing, nothing but silence. For now. I've always been fascinated by internet mysteries, the kind that feel too real to be just another hoax. That's why, when I heard about the Vanishing Room, I couldn't resist looking into it. It was an obscure dark web rumor, buried in forums dedicated to lost media and digital folklore. The stories all followed a similar pattern. Someone would stumble upon a site called The Vanishing Room, either through an invite link or by accident. The website would appear as a plain black screen with a single prompt, enter. Those who clicked claimed to be taken to a live feed, a dimly lit, windowless room, completely empty except for a single wooden chair in the center. There were no doors, no exits, and yet, every time a user entered, the room would change in subtle, eerie ways, a stain appearing on the wall, a flickering light, the distant echo of footsteps. The longer someone watched, the more the room seemed to acknowledge them. Users reported the chair shifting slightly, as if someone had just stood up. Others swore they saw faint impressions in the dust, like invisible feet pacing back and forth. Then came the disappearances. Every so often, someone would claim they saw a shadow move just outside the frame, a glimpse of something too fast, too deliberate to be a glitch. And those who stayed on the site too long stopped responding altogether. Their accounts went silent. Their usernames were never seen again. It was all clearly meant to be a creepypasta, but I wanted to see for myself. I spent hours scouring dark web directories until I found it, a string of random characters leading to an unlisted site. The screen was as described, plain black, with a single white word in the center. Enter. I hesitated for a moment before clicking. A grainy live feed appeared. The room was exactly as others had described, windowless, a single wooden chair under a dim, flickering light. My pulse quickened as I waited for something to happen. Minutes passed. Nothing. Then the light flickered. A shadow crawled along the far wall, slowly, deliberately, but with no discernible source. I told myself it was just a compression artifact, a glitch, but my gut told me otherwise. As I watched, my browser console opened on its own. Lines of code flashed by too fast for me to process. Then, in the chat box at the bottom of the feed, a single message appeared. You're not supposed to be here. My mouse wouldn't move. The browser was locked. My webcam light flickered on. A second message appeared. Look behind you. I didn't want to. My body refused to move, paralyzed by a cold dread that settled deep in my bones. I could see my reflection in the screen, pale, wide-eyed, breathing too fast. And then, something else. A shape behind me. The feed cut to black. My computer crashed. I don't know how long I sat there, unable to breathe, unwilling to turn around. When I finally did, there was nothing. But that night, as I lay in bed, I swear I heard it. A chair scraping softly against the floor, somewhere in my room.